Hello, we're here, Nathan, with Greg Smith, the actor who played Barry Burton in the opening cinematic of Resident Evil 1 back in 1996, I think. 1995, but released in 96. Yes. So it's 30 years old this year, released 30 years ago next year. Let's start from the beginning. You're from Australia? Yes. And you were in Japan for working. I was working as a teacher in Japan, and I wasn't an actor. I was working I had 1 year in Japan to be sent there by my government to work. So I went to Japan for 1 year and I worked, and I got to be Barry Burton. So how did this happen? I think that was both our questions. No, how did it happen? They just picked you from the street like, oh, you look... Imagine, I'm walking down the street in Tokyo. I'm walking down the street and my beard was red.
Oh, yeah.
Much redder. And I was walking down the street and someone come up to me and said, stop. Can you act? And I went, yeah, I can act. And he said, we've got a video game and you look like the person in our video game, and took me in and signed up a contract.
Just like that?
Just like that. Yeah, the 90s.
Yeah.
Things were happening just like that. Just like that. In 5 minutes, it was done. And then they took my phone number and all those things and rang me and said, be here on this day, be there. And they gave me a haircut, fitting for clothes.
So they did have the concept before that?
Yes, they had all the pictures drawn. They had Chris Redfield. Charlie actually worked for the company. So he was always early in because he worked for them. He could see what was coming up and said, I look like him. And they're okay. And Eric, who plays Wesker, he was living in Japan as well. And he'd done voice acting on a bit of Street Fighter. Oh. So he was known. And Jill was like a girl from Australia. I think she was doing 10 weeks or the summer holidays in Japan, doing work during the summer holidays. And Linda, who played Rebecca, she lived in Japan for a long time and worked there as an actress, model, things like that. Did lots of commercials in magazines.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I was just lucky.
You were just scouted like that? Right, you look like the person we want.
Right place, right time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go, you play the role, you take the money, and then you, from what I saw from other interviews, you did not research to what happened to that. Never again. You just continued your teaching career and you never looked back to what happened to... No. What happened? Yes, they gave me some money. I did a few other TV shows then. There was a pro wrestler. We had the pro wrestler. I got to do a show thing in Japan. But no, I went back to Australia in 1996, went back to my job, and they never told us much about it. During the whole filming, they told us nothing, except it was a video game. We had no idea it was called Resident Evil. We knew nothing about it. There was no script.
Nothing.
Not script. They just told you,
stand there.
Yeah, stand there and look at the helicopter.
Like, what helicopter?
Helicopter. And then load your gun and do that. And they didn't use that one. It was a really good one. I got the gun on. They didn't use that one. But yeah, it was just telling you what to do through the Japanese director and an interpreter and me, or Charlie would interpret. So there was no script that I saw. Yeah. They might have had storyboard. Yeah, most probably. They didn't show us. And they didn't show you the storyboard. And they also didn't put our full names down. Yeah, I saw that in the credits. You're not one of these mentioned. That's why it took so long for because for people to find it. At the time, it was cutting out. It was leading edge stuff. No one had ever done that before, right? And Capcom didn't want anyone else to steal us as actors and use us somewhere else. So they kept it really quiet and didn't want anyone to know because they didn't want us to be competition.
Disney level stuff, but yeah.
So that was it. And so I went back to work and I knew I did it, but it was fun and it was part of my life, but I always went back to work.
And until I think those people from the channel The Residents of Evil, I think there's a
bit before,
yeah,
a guy called Frederick from France. He's a fan as well, Fredericks. He emailed me in about 2017, 2018, and asked if I was
one of the actors,
the original actor. I went, yeah, sure I am. And then everyone started, he must have put it on YouTube, Facebook, and then lots of people started asking me for autographs and sending me things to sign. And I signed all these big posters. I think they went and sold them. I sold them. I signed them just for the postage. And I signed so many things. And I think that I probably got sold on YouTube. I don't know what happened to it, but I signed lots of stuff and I didn't know anything about it. And then when and then someone else made a video, Click Without Finding Me.
Oh.
And then in 2022, Andrew from Residents of Evil, Andrew, he contacted me and said he had Charlie and Eric. And would I like to be part of an interview with Charlie and Eric? I went, yeah, love to. Love to meet. I'd talked to Charlie a few times. From 2017, 2018, I found Charlie on Facebook and I talked to him and we got on okay. And he's a nice guy. And and then Eric's, so he invited us all into Utah and we went to Utah and that's where he did the interview with the three of us.
Ah, yes.
And that's where he played the game for the very first time.
You never played the game?
Didn't even know the name of the game, really.
No one, until then, no one had seen the video game to tell you, you know what, is that you?
Yeah. No, a couple of kids one day come up in the street and said, are you in a video game? I went, yeah, I think so. Oh, okay. And they ran away.
Okay, that's interesting because your character, okay, it's not one of the main characters.
He's main to me. He's very important.
But I mean, even though she was not the main character, he has appeared in more than one game. I mean, he was in one. Peter, can you hear? Two?
And then?
The Revelations 2.
Helicopter then, the 3.
And the Revelations 2? Yes.
Even a movie, I think.
In the movie?
Yes, in the 3D movies. And I'm surprised that no one,
I mean, they did keep the likeness.
Yeah, the likeness is completely the same in all the games and movies.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. And now people know me more. People recognise me a lot more. Anyway, we did the interviews and it was great fun.
I don't know if you have any feelings about the fact that in the remaster, they replaced the cinematic with 3D cinematic.
Yeah, it's a shame because I think it really adds to it that the acting, maybe you weren't good actors, but because I think it gave people the opportunity to put a real person as Barry, a real person as Chris. So when they're playing Chris or Jill or whatever, they can actually, they visualise it as a real person, which I think is good. I really wish, I think Capcom, it would be good if Capcom did it again. I was really hoping, and they never did it, that they made a re-release of one with us in it again, like made 1A or 1B with us in it now as old guys coming back to kill the zombies.
That would be that would be really fun.
Yeah, it would be fun, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So they never contacted you, like for a cameo or in a 3D movie or something?
No, never. I have met a representative from Capcom and really lovely guy, and he would love to do something, but just hasn't happened. I know a representative in Capcom, and I met him in Milwaukee at the Midwest Gaming and Expo, and I met him there, and he's a lovely guy, and he's been looking at it, but whether it happens or not, I don't know.
Well, maybe now, because after a long time, there's been a revival of the whole thing.
And yeah, 30 years is pretty important, but better not wait too long. We're getting too old. There'll be Barry in a walking frame if they wait too long.
That is true.
And Barry's early 70s, so it's getting up there.
You're not the voice in the game.
No. In the game, they had they didn't like my Australian accent. So they took it. They didn't want Barry to be an Aussie, like, "G'day, mate, how you going? I'm Barry Burton."
But why? They've been nice.
Era gin sandwich.
And you call that a gun? This is a gun. Anyway, no, they didn't want me to have an Australian accent, so they got a person from the Netherlands, I think.
The Netherlands?
Yeah, and he had an American accent.
That explains a few things.
Yeah. And they didn't like, I think they dubbed us all out. I think Charlie had his crisp dubbed out as well. And I'm not too sure about Wesker.
So I was looking up about the opinions of the whole, about from the director of the live action intro. They did say, I don't know if it was an issue or anything, because I just looked it up just very quickly. They did say that the whole idea of making a live action intro, in the end, it was a mistake. And it shouldn't have happened.
Was that person Japanese or what?
Japanese, yeah. He was Japanese. I don't know if it was a director or the producer, I'm not sure. But it was someone from, the management, the production. And she said it was a mistake. It shouldn't have happened. They were just really, they didn't have time to do the renders, etc. So I wanted to ask you about how would you feel about that, because now there is a revival for the 30 years. Now there is some attention to that live action film. And in the end, someone said, you know what, it should never have happened.
Yeah, I've heard that. And the other one I heard was it's Mikami Nishu. I forget his surname.
Shinji Mikami, the director
He said
of the game.
he said he wished he'd had professional actors.
Oh.
So that's what you read, most probably.
Yeah.
That's the director of the game, not the director of the
Wished
film.
he had professional actors, which, that was a bit sad. Like, that was a bit mean.
It was quite mean, actually.
Yeah, but then again, he likes us now. We contacted him. And I sent him a message.
All right.
In Japanese, and Charlie sent him a message in Japanese, and Eric did as well. And we actually contacted him. And when he saw us, he laughed. He was really happy to see us.
Really?
Yeah, and he had the pictures of us before and now, and he was really happy. So I think maybe he said that then, that you change your mind over time.
Yeah.
And I think also he was happy to have been in something that was not really done before, something really original. So now he sees it, I think, as something really good.
Yeah, that's really big.
Yeah, I think it
really
was.
big.
And we all make statements like some days, I wish they hadn't done that. And I think, I know I read the one that he wanted to have professional actors on, but I don't think professional actors would look confused as us. But a lot of fans say, it looks so real when you're looking up at a helicopter. We had no idea what we were looking at. We just got told to look at the sky.
So you did this in the running, or did you also have dogs on set? And...
Yeah. There was 2 days filming. And Charlie and I hardly saw each other during the filming. Mm-hmm. I spent more time with Linda and the girl who played Jill. I spent more time with them because we did 1 day's filming in a studio with the big doors for the mansion and all that. Yeah. And inside the helicopter, and I'm looking at my family and all that. Mm-hmm. It was a shell of a helicopter.
Oh, so there was a whole movie.
It was in a big barn, a big building, and they had the big doors, and they had, that's what we couldn't work out what was happening. Had pictures of doors, this helicopter frame, just a frame with a helicopter with some seats. And we did that, and then Charlie did something else because he was saying he had to open his eyeball up really big to do that eye kind of thing. And the director kept saying, bigger, and Charlie's trying to open his eye. I didn't see any of that. And Charlie said there was a real helicopter, and I never saw the real helicopter. But the second day we filmed, they took all of us. We had to go to a railway station in Tokyo. I've got it written in my diary somewhere. I'm marked on my diary. And they took us to, we met them at at a station, because that's what you do in Japan. You all go to a railway station.
Yeah.
And then they picked us up in cars and took us to a river, a dry river with lots of grass, grass and weeds and and about that high. And it was a dry riverbed because it was the summertime in Japan. And then we sat there and they make-upped us and they whatever else, and they gave us lots of sushi and lots of cold tea and iced tea and all those things. It was middle of summer.
Well, you need to stay hydrated.
Yeah, and then and makeup, and then they got us out one at a time, and then they got us out all together when it got dark, and we just rehearsed through what we were doing. Then the armory guy came, and in Japan, guns are really, really not supposed to have any guns in Japan. It's really strict rules.
Oh.
And here too, he was the armory man. He took out the armory, showed us the guns weren't loaded. My gun actually had a thing like a camera flash in it. So when you shot it, it lit up like it was familiar, right? And Charlie had a machine gun, I think, or shot lots of bullets. And we did all these things. I was running, going bang, bang, but my gun didn't work after the second shot. It broke. So bang, 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 running through the bush. And we did that. We ran through, and then they had real dogs there. But then the real dogs never got in the movie, I don't think. I don't think they're mechanical dogs.
They changed it with some animatronic
robot deal. Or they had real dogs.
So they could show them as Cerberus-style monsters.
Yeah, well, they had Dobermans, and they put these things in their mouth which lifted their gums up, and their teeth were baring, and they looked really vicious. And they were chasing us as we were running.
Oh, no.
When they caught us, they licked us to death. Like we patted them and all that beforehand and got to know them. No, beautiful dogs. And I'm running and the dog caught me, lick, 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 lick. So it wasn't frightening at all. They were beautiful. And we did that. And then they had all the smoke machines. And then we all had to look up at the helicopter. And I think Charlie yelled out, "Don't go!" Said, "Don't go! Don't go!" And then it filmed all night. We started when it got dark, which in Japan's about 7 o'clock at night, and we filmed till about 6 the next morning, 2 o'clock. So it was an all-night shoot. And then they actually were really kind. Then they drove us all home in cars. And that was the last we ever saw of them. That was it. That was it. A month later, I went and collected my money from the company that organised it. That was it.
All night shoot for like 3 final minutes.
Yeah, all night shoot. Yeah, we were there all night. I remember it was a long night. And then coming home in daylight, like in the car. It was all night shoot for 3 minutes.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that's about how it happens in motion.
Yeah. Well, I filmed and filmed and filmed.
Stop the helicopter. Yeah. Look at the helicopter. What is it?
Hey, don't go! Don't go!
So it's like a fairy tale story. You're just going to your teaching job, and suddenly you're whisked to do the actor in something that becomes cult success over the years. Wow.
It's great fun in retirement. Now I'm retired. It's the best retirement job anyone can have in the world. Going to Comic-Con.
Oh, that was the next thing.
I love meeting fans. The fans are so good. Like, and I get to meet people all over the world as fans, and I often ring up fans all over the world. I think I rang him up one night.
Petros, the leader, founder of the Resident Evil fan.
I rang him up one night. I had to talk to him. I ring up fans all over the world. I just scare them and ring them up and go, "Hello, it's Barry Burton here."
I heard you were knitting for me.
Yeah, and don't go. And so it was just, living a dream. What was your question at Comic-Con?
Yeah, about Comic-Cons. I mean, I would ask you because Comic-Cons are quite a fuss sometimes. They're very tiring. Sometimes it's a bit, with all the people there. And but sometimes it's tiring for the actors, and the schedules are heavy sometimes. That's why I want to ask you if it is that hard for you, or easier, or if you prefer it, or if you would like it to be somehow else.
I love it. I really enjoy going to Comic-Cons. as long as they help me pay my airfare. Most that helped me get there was my airfare. You guys are lucky because I'm here now. Yeah, on holiday. But usually they help me with my airfare. And I've done about 4 now. We've got a lot more lined up next year for the 30th anniversary. We're going to Japan. We're going back to Japan. It looks like we're going to Kuala Lumpur. There's a big interest in Asia. And then we're going to America again. But this year I'm going to Stuttgart.
Germany.
Yeah, Germany. So I'm looking forward to that. I love going to Comic-Con because the fans are really excited. They're good fun, and but exhausting. I'm so tired by the time the Comic-Con finishes. We get up early, we get ready. Well, I usually do them with Charlie and Eric, and we get dressed in our gear. We might have breakfast, then we get dressed, and we go across before it all opens up to set up. And then while people are there, I think if a fan come to see me, I'll give them 100% of my attention. So I put them in Barry sandwich. I'll put you in a Barry sandwich later. We do the Barry sandwich. We do sodos. I sign things. And I just keep going and going and going. And then that night is usually a fan night. So you go along to it. And then another night. And by the end of it's Friday night, Saturday night, and you're finished on Sunday afternoon. But you're absolutely exhausted by the time it's over. Because if someone comes to see you, I don't know, they're going, hello. I go, hey, how are you? Welcome along. If a fan's made all the effort to come to see me, if I don't give them
I can
a lot of energy.
It's very nice of you. Some people sadly are not like
No, I love it. And I don't mind if they bring along things to sign or whatever else. And so I just really enjoy it. It's great fun.
And you said now that you are scheduled to go back to Japan?
Yeah, it looks like it. We look like we'll be in Japan.
After a long time.
In January, we're going to Japan, hopefully, Charlie, Eric and myself. In October, beginning of November, I'm going to Stuttgart in Germany, which will be a lot of fun. And then next year, we've got something in America, in Kansas City, and hopefully a couple of others while I'm over there. If I'm going all right to America, we'll try and join a couple together. So we'll do that. Yeah, so hopefully it'll all come together. And if it doesn't, well, it doesn't. Hey, it's all fun. The first Comic-Con, Charlie and I, not many people get this story, so you're lucky. Charlie and I, we meet up, and I contact this guy in Milwaukee at the Midwest Gaming Expo. Dan, lovely guy. And I rang him up and said, look, mate, I'm Barry Burton from Australia. How you going? And I said, I've got Charlie and we'd really like to join you at your Comic-Con. And he went, oh, okay. And he looked around and said, I can give you this much towards your airfare. I said, that's good. And he put me up in a hotel and we got there. And a fan had sent me my Barry clothes. I didn't even have the Barry costume. And a fan, Trent Overton, sent it to me from America, my Barry costume, the vest and everything. And
You mean the original that you wore back then?
No.
That's a cosplay.
He wouldn't give it to me. He had a copy. So he gave it to me. So for the first time in 28 years, I put on the Barry Burton T-shirt, the pair of Barry trousers, the gun, the holster, the boots, and everything. Oh, and it's all right. And Charlie's the same. Charlie wears it as well he wears the Chris Red Dirt gear for the first time. And we walk into the Comic-Con. As we're walking down the Comic-Con, Charlie and I going, this is pretty stupid, you know. I said, yeah. He said, 2 old guys going to a Comic-Con dressed as Resident Evil characters. He said, they'll probably kick us out, you know. And I said, yeah, well, we'll go back to the room and watch TV. So we get there. And we walk in the door, and we didn't even get to the escalators. It was on the 2nd floor. We were at the door for an hour because people wouldn't let us get through. Fans were waiting us to sign things and photos. And eventually we got upstairs, and then we got another lot of people. And then they did a signing table, and the signing table was like for an hour. 2.5 hours later, the line was still really long. So the next day we did it again. And then we did a talk like this, but to a big audience. We had about 200 people, and we were talking to, and next we got a standing ovation, and all these people stood up, and it was the biggest talk it was the biggest group they'd ever had. And then we did there's a group called Guys, Beers and Games, or Games, Gears, Beers and Guys.
I don't know.
In America.
American thing.
Yeah, and they do podcasts, and they did a podcast with us. So we had the best weekend ever. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I think that would be the most exciting
and then
thing.
Okay,
One more.
okay. Let's close this.
Okay.
So, big thanks to Petros for organizing everything. He's the
Petro,
Petro, get back here.
his Resident Evil Greece team.
Yeah.
Fun group.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that made everything happen. And
Stay here. Stay here.
I want to see them.
Okay.
Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for
Can you finish by giving us the most famous Barry Burton line?
Yeah.
Sorry, which is not, you did not speak the line, but I wanted you to do it with Australian accent.
Yeah.
The one that says you were almost a Jill sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
And let's close with this.
Okay. That was close. You were almost a Jill sandwich. And now the Barry Burton sandwich.
And the end. Perfect.